Aloha, everyone. On behalf of the State Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism, welcome and thank you for joining us for the Pathways to Recovery webinar covering the topic of small business recovery related to the Maui wildfires relief support. I'm Caroline Witherspoon, and I will be the moderator for today's webinar. The intention of today's webinar is to provide you with up-to-date information from our partners, including the U.S. Small Business Administration, and to answer as many questions as we can. Please note that the information provided is current as of today, October 5th, 2023. And first, we're going to go through all of the questions that have been submitted to us in advance. If you have questions during this webinar, please submit them via the Q&A function within the Zoom platform to ensure that your question is received. Depending on the number of questions received, we may run out of time before we've had a chance to address them all during the webinar. We will post all relevant questions and answers online along with the webinar recording. And with that, I'd like to introduce you to our panelists. Joining us today, we have Cynthia Cowell, Public Information Officer with the U.S. Small Business Administration's Office of Disaster Recovery and Resilience, and James Kunane Tokioka, Director of the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism. I will now turn it over to Director Tokioka for some opening remarks.
Thank you very much, Caroline. Aloha, everyone. Thank you again for this opportunity to communicate with you, to answer questions and to give you updates of what's happening with the wildfire situation. And I know we're all looking for the best outcomes, trying to get as much information out to the community as possible. That's why we've invited the Small Business Association on today. And during the course of the last few weeks, 6 weeks, I've had the opportunity to work side by side with many of the people at the Small Business Association. And I know from the questions that were turned in the previous webinars that we've done, questions about small business related and the Small Business Associations were asked. So I'm going to turn it back to Caroline so she can have Cynthia do her screen and PowerPoint, and then we can answer questions as we go along. So once again, thank you and aloha.
Thanks, Director Tokioka. So Cynthia, we'd like to turn it over to you to go ahead and give some opening remarks and share some information with our viewers.
Well, thank you. My name, as stated, is Cynthia Cowell. I'm a Public Information Officer with the U.S. Small Business Administration, Office of Disaster Recovery and Resilience. So far to date, we have approved over $143 million in loans to help those on Maui recover from the disaster. We have approved over $101 million just for homeowners, and the balance of $41 million, almost $42 million, has gone to businesses with both physical and economic damage. Businesses on Oahu, Maui, Kauai, and Molokai, of course, and in Honolulu are also eligible to receive economic injury disaster loans from the Small Business Administration. And my slide program will go into how we approve and just the steps that you need to take to help recover. So next slide, please. So this is a presidential disaster declaration. And because of that, there are many federal agencies available to help people in Hawaii to recover from the damages from the wildfires. FEMA is the coordinating agency and delivers assistance designated in the declaration as individual assistance. That's aid for temporary housing, emergency needs, and the necessary expenses for individuals and households. Public assistance provides aid to state and local governments for infrastructure, and each of these authorizes an SBA declaration, which is why we are here. Next, please. For businesses, nonprofits, homeowners, and renters to repair or replace damaged property that's not covered by insurance or other funds. This is how SBA helps with low interest federal loans for disaster property damage. Next, please. And then we also have federal loans for economic losses for working capital needs. This is for small businesses and most private nonprofit organizations throughout Hawaii. It's not restricted to Maui. Now for businesses, we can lend up to $2 million to repair or replace real estate, inventory, etc. And then for the economic injury disaster loans, this is working capital to help with repairing or to keep a business in business until business picks up again. Now the maximum that a business can get is the total of $2 million for economic and physical damages. For homeowners, we've recently increased our amount to $500,000, and this is to repair or replace a home and that is your primary residence. For home loans, for homeowners and renters, we can lend up to $100,000. Getting ahead of myself here. $100,000 to repair or replace personal property, and this does include cars. It's anything a homeowner or renter would take with them when they move out of a house. We also offer mitigation funds of up to 20% of the verified physical damage. Now, homeowners will be limited to $500,000, which is our cap for physical damage. So in theory, one could get $500,000 to help repair your home, and then up to $500,000 to provide mitigation repairs or improvements. Next, please. We make recovery affordable in many ways. We provide below market rates that are set quarterly for the low interest loan. Currently, that rate is 2.5% for homeowners. The low rate is 4% for businesses and 2.375% for private nonprofits, including churches. The term can be 15 or 30 years, and the payments are based on your ability to repay. In certain circumstances, borrowers may be able to refinance existing liens and or mortgages, or may use an SBA loan to relocate. Now, they have specific criteria and limits to accept this sort of help. The loans and terms are set by SBA and are based on each applicant's ability to repay and financial condition. Thank you. Next, please. Uncompensated losses. This is a disaster loss not compensated by insurance, FEMA, grants, or other reimbursements. And these uncompensated losses are eligible. So let's say you own a home that has sustained $700,000 worth of damage, but you only have $300,000 in insurance. We could, in theory, come in and supplement what your insurance is paying you back so that you can make the repairs to your home. You're not eligible if you have not complied with the terms of a previous SBA loan agreement or other federal obligations such as child support, student loans, etc. If you have any question at all, you can contact us either at one of the disaster recovery centers, and I'll go into that, or you can call our customer service line at 800-659-2955. if your business received a COVID loan and you are now struggling because you have this COVID loan payment to make, we do have assistance available as far as making it. We can extend the length of your loan and give you a temporary help. So be sure to call us if you have any questions at all. Thank you. Next, please. You will be required to maintain insurance, and the requirements for loan approval are the damaged property must be in a declared area. If you are on, let's say the Big Island had a wildfire that is not part of this declaration, you would not be eligible for SBA physical damage funds because of the location. We do look at your credit history and your repayment ability. We must show that you'd be able to make your payments and that you have done so in the past. Now, I understand a lot of people, because we've just come through COVID, have issues making late payments. Be sure to talk to us. We're not going to just say absolutely not. You may be declined initially because of your credit score, but you can ask for reconsideration and show that, yes, since all this happened with COVID, this is how my business has improved. You will be required to maintain hazard insurance specifically for wildfires. And if you are in a flood zone, you will need to also maintain flood insurance. This is just to protect you and your investment, and of course the federal government, so that if this happens again, if there's a flood, and it could happen in Lahaina, then you would be covered. Next, please. Now, the application filing deadline has changed as of yesterday. The filing deadline for physical damage is 60 days from the declaration date, and you can see the physical damage deadline at the bottom of the page is November 9th. And then the filing deadline for economic injury disaster loans to a business is 9 months from the declaration date. So the idle deadline is May 10th of 2024. We will follow what FEMA does. When there's an extension from FEMA, then we will also extend our deadline. But the idle deadline will remain May 10th of 2024. And this is just to give a business a little bit longer so they can see what happens once they reopen Maui for tourism. If maybe your business comes back, that's wonderful. But you should get your application in before the deadline. Next, please. You can apply online at the SBA Disaster Loan Assistance Portal, and that's disasterloanassistance.sba.gov/ELA. And there's all kinds of information at that website. Next, please. Now, this is the websites and information, and please feel free to make use of them. You can go to sba.gov/Hawaii-wildfires for more information. That can also take you to the application website. If you have any questions, you can call the SBA Customer Service Center at 800-659-2955, or you can email our Customer Service Center at disastercustomerservice@sba.gov. And for a list of our locations for business recovery centers, disaster recovery centers, our portable business recovery center in Lahaina, or the business assessment and recovery center, business recovery assessment center in Kihei. That's all in there. You can come into, if you are a homeowner and you have evacuated to Honolulu or the Big Island in Kailua Kona, or to Kapa'a in Kauai, we can help you there to complete your SBA application. Even though it's called a business recovery center, our customer service representatives have been more than happy to help a homeowner to complete their application. Next, please. And with that, I will remain available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Cynthia. So we are going to go ahead and start with the questions that were submitted to us in advance. And these are for you. And you did address some of it in your presentation just now, but I think it would be helpful just to re-ask and make sure that we've thoroughly answered. The first question, as a self-employed property manager and owner, I am currently establishing long-term leases with 4 families in Napili. All lost their businesses and 2 their family homes. Are there any loan programs for owners for property improvements, hardening our homes for tenant safety, and adding an ADU? I have been told my calculated DTI is too high. Even with excellent credit, I've been told I won't qualify. What loan programs are available to Hawaii property owners looking for this assistance that don't meet conventional loan requirements and rates?
I would recommend that you go to the Business Recovery and Assessment Center in Kihei. It's at 590 Lipoa, right across from Maui Brewers. It's upstairs in room 202. They have lots of organizations available that maybe you may not qualify for an SBA loan. They may be able to find money for you. Also, our small business development centers are available with counseling and training available, and it's usually free. And they may be able to counsel you and get you pointed in the right direction.
Great, thank you. The next question, they were asking if SBA extended the deadline to apply for physical damage assistance, which you went over and said that that deadline is November 9th. They're also asking if we can provide more information on how to apply. So I wanted to let everyone know that we will share the PowerPoint presentation as a follow-up to everyone who has attended today's webinar. And I know that information is in there as well.
Thank you.
Next question. How long before getting the grants Governor mentioned during the LAC meeting a month ago, $10,000 and $20,000 ones? I believe money was sent to MEO and MEDB. Still have not seen any info on how businesses can apply. Does anyone have an answer for that?
I do.
I'll defer to Mr. Tokioka. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, the money was sent over to Maui County. And I know that even from the last meeting that we were on, MEO, MEDB, and Maui Community Federal Credit Union, all 3 of them will be issuing money. The bulk of the 12.5 million that the state sent over to Maui County is going to be handled or distributed by MEO. So I reached out to them earlier, and they're finalizing the plan, but they haven't given me the exact plan on when it's going to come out and when they're going to be able to distribute the money. So I can't answer that right now, and I know it's Sneh that asked the question, and so I will as soon as I know, Sneh, I'll let you know, and then I'll ask that people who are on this Zoom link, we can email that answers when we get them. And I was hoping to get it before we started today. And if I do get it by the end of this call, I will let everyone know. If not, as soon as we get it, we'll send it out to the people who were on this Zoom link.
Great, thank you. The next one, I'm currently working with the SBA on a small business loan. 2 major issues. First of all, I have to personally guarantee this loan even though we are a C Corp. Second, my loan officer is saying that it can only be used to replace my Lahaina location, which I won't be able to do for 2+ years. The company will fold if I have to wait that long to generate revenue again. Cynthia, do you have any advice?
Yes, I would recommend that they look into possibly relocating, but do talk to SBA and see what you can do. You can also talk to the Small Business Development Center, who may be able to offer you other information about what you can do to get your business started and going. We can't make you better, make your situation better than it was August 7th, but we can provide working capital to keep you in business until things pick up.
Great. I don't know if this is going to be similar. I've been declined for the SBA disaster loan because I cannot provide the collateral of my home, which is an ironclad trust. Technically, I do not even own my home. I am only a beneficiary of the trust. This is non-negotiable as the trust cannot be amended, nor will the trust go on top of any loan. That being said, SBA denied me a loan. I was advised that FEMA could help me initially if SBA declines my application. Now SBA advised that FEMA will only assist homeowners who are not self-employed. I'm baffled that there is zero assistance for me as being a 23-year small business owner who has employed more than 40 employees statewide. As small business owners are the backbone of our economy. I can't afford to go into more debt to hold me over. What other options are there for people in the same situation as myself?
We do require collateral, but if you don't have sufficient collateral to collateralize a loan, that's certainly not going to stop us from providing a loan for you. I would suggest that you request reconsideration, and also you might want to check with FEMA and say, I was declined. I don't see how being a business owner would preclude you from getting assistance with your home. So you do need to talk to FEMA. If you can get into one of the disaster recovery centers, there's one in Lahaina and one in Kahului. You might want to see about talking to FEMA face to face and see if you can get some help that way.
Great, thank you. Next question, what is the expected turnaround time for businesses applying for disaster relief loans? I have not heard of any of my business customers receiving loan approval or loan proceeds as of yet.
Well, everything is done on a case-by-case basis. Of course, everybody's business is different from everybody else's. We have been approving loans. They do take a little bit longer to process, of course, because there's more information involved than there would be for, say, a renter. But we have dispersed funds. We have approved over $41 million in funds for businesses. And I don't know what to tell you. As far as those businesses who have applied, a lot of them are being approved. It just takes a little bit of time. We like to say 2 to 4 weeks. It could be a little longer depending on how complicated the business is and where it's located as well. We do know that the businesses in Lahaina itself, a lot of them are unable to get back in there to do their business. And it's important to know that once you are approved, you don't have to take the money right away, and you will have a year from the date of your first disbursement before you accrue any to interest or need to make any payments. And I know that doesn't seem to answer the question. If you have submitted an application and you want to know the status, you can go to the website where you turn in your application. You can come into our disaster or business recovery centers and ask them to look it up for you, and they can tell you if there's anything that needs your attention or what's going on with it. Or you can call our customer service number at 800-659-2955.
Great, thanks, Cynthia. Back on an earlier question, the one that was talking about the small business disaster loan being declined because they couldn't provide collateral of their home because of the trust. And it was mentioned about being a homeowner and not getting a loan for their home, but it's not about her home being destroyed. It's her business was destroyed and being able to get a loan for that.
Okay, yeah, I would recommend that they go ahead and request reconsideration. If you have a copy of the trust, I know it may have not been easily accessible, but if they have a copy of the trust and they can show that this is not collateral that I can use, then they may be able to help you that way.
Okay, and then for further clarification, somebody's asking, what is the process to appeal this?
When you are declined, you will be sent a letter that explains exactly why you were declined and the steps that you need to take to cure that, or to how to request reconsideration. You have 6 months from the date of the letter to come back and say, this is why it happened and I need help because of this. And then you can explain the situation or provide documentation as needed to change that decision.
Thank you. Is there any other monetary help for businesses not doing business due to no tourists other than to be burdened with more loans?
Yes.
I know that there is some. Go ahead.
I'll
Sorry.
take it. I'll take this one, Cynthia. So the forgivable loan program that I just recently talked about with MEO and the other agencies, that is the monetary help that small businesses can get. So you would have to check with them as soon as the applications come out. But it's my understanding that they're going to start with the west side, businesses on the west side that were damaged, and then they're going to take in applications from the rest of Maui, because we all know that although the fire was in West Maui and Lahaina specifically, the well, I should say upcountry as well, but how it impacts businesses was mostly on the west side. So that loan program is going to be a forgivable loan. The only stipulation that the state, or the biggest stipulation that the state had with the loan, is that it's forgivable if people stay in Hawaii. But if you take that loan and you leave Hawaii, then it's not going to be forgivable. So I hope that answers the question. And in the case of businesses, it's my understanding that it will be MEO. So I hope that answers the question. And I know that they're trying to work it as fast as possible. But as you can imagine, there's a lot of information that they need, but working alongside with FEMA, they can get information faster as far as qualifications, because if the businesses have registered with SBA or FEMA, then they have the information regarding the business, and if it's still standing, or what the status is with each business. So that's going to be helpful in expediting the loan applications.
Great, thank you.
Another
go ahead.
Another option could be to go to the Business Recovery and Assessment, the Business Recovery and Assessment Center in Kihei. It is open in conjunction with Operation Hope, who does have funds available for businesses that are not loans. And there are also other agencies there who may be able to help a business owner who would not qualify for an SBA loan.
Great, thank you. Cynthia, a couple more for you here. We lost our retail property on Front Street on leased land, so we have no collateral. We likely will have no idea how much of a property loan we will need, and have nothing to other than the loan proceeds to pay back a loan that would have to be applied for by November 9th, but would not need the loan to rebuild for years. It seems crazy that we have only until November 9th to apply for a loan and have to start repaying on that loan when we won't be able to rebuild for years. Are there any other options or avenues?
Yes, you don't have to take the money right away. You have 6 months before you have to take any money at all, and we can extend that too. And so you could, in theory, wait a couple of years before you get a draw, and then you have a year after your first draw to make a payment. So I would talk to your loan officer and let them know that yes, you're applying, but you don't want any funds up front. You want it to wait until you know what you can do as far as rebuilding.
Great. Can you please restate the title of the forgivable loan program?
That would be from Mr. Tokioka.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was writing something down. I don't know of the title yet, but it is going to be a forgivable loan program that is going to be run through MEO.
Thanks, Dr. Tokioka. For many of the impacted businesses in Lahaina, 2 million is not enough. How can we get that number increased to 4 or 5 million?
Well, in the case of a major employer, we may be able to help more. And that's something you would need to talk to SBA about. We help businesses of all sizes. So there may be another program that's available for a much larger business.
Cynthia, you'd mentioned that $40 million in EIDL loans had been granted. How many businesses is that? Do we know? You're on mute.
Hi, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to mute myself for just a moment while I look that up. Thank you.
Okay, then I'll go back to Director Tokioka. What is the status of the small business grant program?
Well, is that the question at 1227, the amounts for the forgivable loans, that question?
Oh, that one.
Okay. So yes, it's my understanding that it is 10 and 20,000 depending on the size of the business. And all of those details will be part of what I was hoping to get out today. But if I don't get it before the end of this meeting, we will make sure that everyone gets the details when I get them.
Hi. So far, we've approved loans for over 270 businesses.
Great, thank you. What is the reason that SBA is unable to provide grants similar to COVID PPP or ERC? The amount can be tied to annual tax filings by each business.
Well, our limits are legislated, and we are loan makers. We don't offer grants. In fact, COVID was the first time in our 70-year history where we did offer grants, and it took a special act of Congress for that. So I know that people don't want loans, they would prefer not to have a loan, but this is the money that SBA is able to provide.
Great, thank you. I think that's all of the questions that we've received. Are there any additional ones coming through? How many employees would you need to have to be considered a large business?
Oh boy, I don't know off the top of my head. You can go online to sba.gov, and it does have information about major businesses, major sources of employment, and how much is needed to be a major business or a large business.
Next question. Is it possible that small loans under 150,000 might be forgivable? How might that be made possible? Is that for you, Director, or Cynthia?
I think well, Cynthia answered it on their side, and you know, we have a limited amount of money, and when like even the 10 and the 20,000, I was talking to a restaurant owner that had restaurants in Lahaina, 4 of them, 2 of them burnt down, and just his rent alone for 1 month is $15,000, and we're already 2 months into the fire, and you know the amount that we can give is nowhere near what they need to pay rent, but we're trying to do the best that we can. But you know, we don't have billions of dollars, and even at the FEMA level, just so that people know, just to house people for FEMA during this disaster is costing the federal government billions of dollars. And so we're trying to balance all of that. You know, we want to get people up and running. We want to get people give people opportunities to open up their business, but we just don't have endless amount of resources. And so it's like a balancing, you know, a checkbook at home. What do you pay for first? Do you pay for your health insurance? Do you pay for your mortgage or your rents? And you know, it saddens me every day to think how many people are struggling with you know, all of the things that have happened, with people who have lost everything. But I wish we had more resources. We just don't. And I know it's the same feeling from the people from FEMA. I work side by side with them every single day at here at the convention center. But it's just something that we can't get as much resources as we wish we could to solve the issues of the small business people in Lahaina and on Maui and house the people that lost all of their houses. It's just it breaks everybody's heart. So I know that's not a specific answer, but the specific answer is we just don't have the resources that are needed to pay for the housing and everything else.
And I know
Okay,
people would
Cynthia.
rather we give them an honest answer, and this is honest. This is what we have available right now. And the SBA loans are not forgivable unless Congress goes ahead and says that these are forgivable, but they're not. And like I said, in the history of SBA, we've only had grants one time, and that was for COVID when the entire country was out of work.
Answer.
Okay, Cynthia, if you can mute your screen, I'll answer the next question that came in. Thank you. What are the top 3 requirements for grants, and what's the link to that? I don't have the link yet, as I said. So when that does come out, we will make sure that everybody gets that. The top 3 requirements, I know from the state, the top 1 is you have to spend that money in the state of Hawaii, preferably on Maui, but in the state of Hawaii. If you take the money and you move to the mainland or anywhere else away from Hawaii, it will not be forgiven.
All right, Cynthia, this next one is for you. How will SBA view a newly licensed business that invested working capital and launched in July 2023, who lost inventory and sales on August 8th due to storm damage? A business started in 2023 will not have tax returns or quarterly filings yet.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? There was a little bit of noise.
Absolutely. How will SBA view a newly licensed business that invested working capital and launched in July of 2023, who lost inventory and sales on August 8th due to storm damage? A business started in 2023 will not have tax returns or quarterly filings yet.
You do have records available, and so you need to work with SBA to go ahead and provide that information. It may be that they need invoices or something like that showing where your expenses were or where your money was coming from up until the time of the fire. But as long as you were in business, that means you could have just filed your business plan and gotten your permits. You are considered a business. So I would go ahead and make your application, maybe put a note in there that this is when you started business and so you don't have tax returns yet.
Director Tokioka, is the 10,000 and 20,000 program administered by MEO a loan program or a grant program? They've heard both terms applied to that.
Okay, I'll clarify that. It's a forgivable loan. And what that means is if you follow the stipulations, the one being you spend that money in the state of Hawaii. I'm sure MEO and the county may have other stipulations in there, but the main one is going to be that you have to spend the money in the state of Hawaii. It will be a forgivable loan, which means you don't have to pay it back. We're not calling it grants, and the reason why we're not calling it a grant is because if we do, you may not be able to qualify for other benefits that could come up from the federal government or other agencies. So we've thought about this to protect people that we're trying to get money to, and that's why it's not called a grant.
Okay, that looks like we have made it through all of the questions that were asked. So we do want to thank everyone for joining us and for your questions. As mentioned earlier, we will post all of the relevant questions and answers and a recording of today's webinar and the PowerPoint on DBEDT's website. And then please stay tuned for details on our next Pathways to Recovery webinar. Director Tokioka, did you want to close out?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you again to all of you for tuning in, and I hope this is helpful to you. I would like to also say that if there are other agencies or other guests that you folks want us to invite on, please respond to the emails that you get are connected to via this webinar, and let us know who you think is important, and we can try to get them on. Because as I said from the first webinar that we started, the best way that we can help all of you is by communicating as much as we know when we know it. So we're still going to continue to do that, and I appreciate all of the people that have tuned in today, and look forward to more dialogue and webinars in the future. And I want to take a special thank you and mahalo to Cynthia, Cowell, for being on. We miss you here at the Convention Center, but I know that you're out there working hard to make life easier as much as we possibly can in a terrible disaster like this. So thank you for that, Cynthia. And aloha to everyone, and God bless you all.
Thank you so much for having me. And if you have any questions, you know how to get a hold of me. Thank you.